Week number 6, Robert J. Sternberg and his triarchic theory of human intelligence. Robert Sternberg was born December 8, 1949. In his early years in school, he did very poorly on IQ tests. He was actually held back in the 5th grade and not allowed to go to the 6th. In those years, though, he had a teacher, Mrs. Adams, who instilled some belief in him, and he overcame the low IQ, not intelligent label that was put on him. By the 7th grade, he was studying mental abilities, and in a science project, he created the STOMA, the Sternberg Test of Mental Abilities. He went on to test this instrument through middle school and in high school. In 1968 and 69, when he was starting college, he became a researcher at the Psychological Corporation. And by the time he was finishing his college years at Yale, he was actually a researcher there. He also got his PhD at Stanford University. 1976, he became a professor at Yale University, and by 2006, he was dean at Tufts University. In 2010 and today, he is the provost at Oklahoma State University. Sternberg has made several contributions to the field of psychology. Foremost, his triarchic theory of human intelligence, but he has also had several other influential theories related to creativity, wisdom, thinking styles, love and hate. A couple of the theories that we'll be looking at here are his theory related to giftedness and mental self-government. He's also been the author of over 1,000 books. A few of them are pictured here. In 1985, Sternberg wrote that human intelligence is the mental activity directed towards purposive adaptation to selection and shaping of real-world environments relative to one's life. By 2004, he was saying, I define intelligence as a skill in achieving whatever it is you want to obtain in your life within your socio-cultural context by capitalizing on your strengths and compensating for or correcting your weaknesses. Sternberg's theory of intelligence included contextual and socio-cultural influences. He felt that intelligence was much greater than that which your IQ could test. This graphic chart was taken from the 1985 article written by Sternberg and Berg, A Triadic Theory of Intellectual Development During Adulthood. In looking at human intelligence, Sternberg felt elementary processes operated on internal representations of objects, events, and symbols. He took a cognitive approach rather than a psychometric approach when looking at intelligence. In his theory, there were 3 parts: the practical, the experiential, and the componential parts. He felt the mind worked through a series of 3 components. The meta component. In this graphic, I've added additional explanation to the 3 parts that Sternberg discussed related to human intelligence. The contextual part he further explained as being practical, including the social and cultural aspects, real world, and street smarts. It's one's ability to apply knowledge to the real world and the ability to shape one's environment and choose one's environment. Part 2, the experiential, has to do with being creative, invention. Now, let's explore Sternberg's mental self-government theory of cognitive styles, or styles of thinking. The theory, people, like societies, have to organize and govern themselves. So these explanations are how individuals govern their thinking. It's organized into 5 parts: function, form, level, scopes, and leanings. The first is functions. Thinking functions either on an executive, a legislative, or a judicial level. The legislative creates its own rules and likes to build new structures. The executive is concerned with implementing and doing. It likes to follow the rules, and it also likes predetermined structures. The judicial is concerned with judging, evaluating, and comparing. And it evaluates the rules and procedures and likes to analyze given structures. Next is forms. There's 4 forms: monarch, hierarchy, oligarchy, and anarchy. In 1995, Sternberg published his 5-year study sponsored by the National Research Center on the Gifted and Talented, which also included his implicit theory of giftedness. In this, he looked at people's conception, the layperson's conception, not the professional, of what is gifted. And what he found was that society labels people as gifted to the extent that the people have met 5 criteria. And those characteristics are 1, excellence; 2, rarity; 3, productivity; 4, demonstrability; and 5, value. He looked at the implicit theory of giftedness as opposed to the explicit theories. Now, explicit theories collect and measure psychological functioning, such as IQ tests. But what he felt is a person needs to excel in something in a way that is rare, needs to produce some kind of a product or products, and thereby demonstrates giftedness, and the product must be of a kind that is valued. He felt that there was no right constructive measure or no set of constructs that ought to be used to determine giftedness. His study provided a basis of how labels of giftedness should be assigned and suggested the framework for supporting such judgments. At the end of the study, he felt that implicit theories of giftedness were important because they provided a dimension of understanding that could not be obtained through a study of explicit theory. He believed that both implicit and explicit theories were needed and should be studied in conjunction, saying, implicit theories provide the form and structure by which we define giftedness, and explicit theories provide the content that is embedded within the form or structure. Sternberg was not without his critics. In 2002, Linda Gottfredson was very outspoken about her beliefs, claimed that what Sternberg called practical intelligence was not a broad aspect of cognition at all, but simply a specific set of skills people learn to cope with a specific environment, the task aspects of knowledge. Sternberg responded to Gottfredson in a 2003 article in Intelligence Discussion, our research program validating the triactic theory of success intelligence, reply to Gottfredson. In his article, he responded to Gottfredson point by point, especially her statement the triactic theory is just wrong. In his conclusion, he said, although I found the hostile tone, some of the substance of Gottfredson's critique less than fully constructive, any serious critique in science, whatever its tone, can help advance our understanding of the scientific phenomena. Gottfredson is no exception. All extant scientific theories have weaknesses. The triactic theory certainly has many. I hope, however, that the strengths will help advance the scientific understanding of intelligence and pave the way for subsequent generations of better theories. Reviewing Sternberg's citations from the Web of Science, there were 422 works cited. They were created between 1972 and 2012. There's a total of 9,210 citations. 26% of the citations occurred within the last 4.5 years. They are covering over 24 areas, and 76.4% of them were in psychology and education or educational research journals. Here is the graphic presentation of Sternberg's citations by year. And here are the publications of his works by year. This is a representation of citations by area. And here are my resources for this presentation. Thank you.